Aaron Taylor played 6 years in the NFL and spent his last 2 years as a Charger. He knew Seau well and was at his side when his transition from the NFL to real life faltered. And he joins us now in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Aaron, it's so good to see you, man. So good to see you. I haven't seen you since about a month ago when we were at that John Carney event, Dinner with the Pros, and I told Amber the next day when I came back that John showed a video of him and Junior, and it ruined my night.
Well, you said you got extremely emotional watching it.
It just hit me at that moment how real all of this Junior stuff is. Right. Did you have that moment, or was it real from the beginning for you?
It's been real and surreal ever since then, Scott. I mean, I could not believe it's kind of like the O.J. chase, 9/11, the space shuttle blown up, and where I was when I heard that Junior had, put a gun to his chest and pulled the trigger. It was like it didn't make sense. And I think now slowly the picture and the landscape is starting to unfold, and some light is starting to be shed there. But being there at that event and watching those pictures, man, it reminded me, I think, of the question that so many people asked after the event which was, how can a guy like this, with all this, go out like this? And I think that ultimately is probably going to be the legacy of Junior Seau, because I think his situation is going to shed a lot of light on what not only a lot of athletes go through, but what a lot of men and a lot of people go through.
But let's go back to prior to Junior Seau committing suicide. There was the moment where he ran his car off a cliff in Carlsbad. And most people accepted Junior's excuse. I'm putting that in quotes.
What was his excuse?
His excuse was he'd fallen asleep.
Fell asleep at the
wheel. He'd had a rough night with him and his girlfriend. He'd been in jail. Actually, there was a domestic abuse call. They took him to jail, and he drove the car off the cliff, and everybody said, okay, it's reasonable to think that he fell asleep. You, as a former teammate and friend, did not buy that from the beginning. You had your own struggles leaving football and transitioning into the real world. And you apparently did not believe Junior from the beginning. Is that right?
Well, I would characterize it as this. I had some question. There were some flags that raised. Now we know he had some sleeping issues, so he was heavily medicated on Ambien and other drugs that are able to help you sleep. So that could be a cause. I don't know what happened, but knowing the emotional state that Junior was in, I had my suspicions. Right after he retired the first time in San Diego, before a couple days later going with Miami, we got together, we had lunch up in Encinitas, and we're talking about kind of the struggles of transition. He and I played together, we partied together, going to the restaurant after games was kind of what you did. But he had also seen me kind of change and kind of have a metamorphosis, if you will, after I retired. Not only my struggles, but kind of how I slowly started to kind of find out who Aaron was. I know who AT was, I know who the left guard and the Lombardi Trophy Award winner and all these awards were, but who was I as a person? And I think Junior saw me go through that transition and navigate successfully on the other side and was curious about that. So he and I talked, and we talked about some of the struggles that he could accept, and we all know that he made the decision to go to Miami and then later on to New England. But the picture you're looking at here now is from a 40th birthday from John Carney that he helped to organize. And you'll notice in my glass there's a red napkin instead of red wine. That was after I'd gotten sober. And to me, this picture is so prophetic because, as you alluded to later on, Junior and I got together, and I tried to let him go down the road that I had gone down and let him know that he's not alone, that a lot of people struggle, a lot of people don't know how to be able to turn the corner, turn the page, take that next step. And after he had gone off the cliff, we went to a popular 12-step meeting and program, and we went to a couple of those, and unfortunately it didn't stick as well for him as it has for a lot of people, and the rest, as we know, is unfortunate history.
Do you think, when I hear of this story, I guess I would have maybe at the time bought the same thing, that yes, it was sleeping aids. But do you think just so many people, including his family and friends, were just in denial? Because the last thing you want to think is that this man can't handle the pressure of being, done with football, so that you want to believe, oh, maybe it was just the sleeping aids.
That's a great question, Amber, and I really think it kind of brings to light the dynamic of the disconnect between what we as men think about what strength is. Strength is being able to play with a broken arm and smack people and come down on goal line or short yardage situations. But the reality is, at the end of the day, Junior Seau, for whatever reason, and the reasons were multiple, did not have enough ability or courage or strength or to be able to deal with his feelings and deal with life on life's terms. I was certainly in that boat. I know a lot of people are in that boat. And I think it's time that we start to flip what being tough and courageous and masculine looks like, because the reality is it takes a tremendous amount of courage to be able to change what you're doing in your life and take certain steps, and to be able to admit that you have faults and weaknesses just like everybody else, and that you're not perfect, that you're not special. What's so unfortunate about football is that for so long we are unique, we are different, we are 1 in a million statistically that play organized sports ending up in the NFL. But out on the street, once it's done, we're the average everyday Joe. We've never experienced that. There's no support system for us, and because of that, we crash and burn at an alarming rate.
Well, and Aaron, you know, you're saying all that, and it's giving me chills, because the other part of it is, when you're 38, 39, 40, in the rare occasion that you played the way Junior did, and then you get to the end of the road, and you've still got a lot of people that are depending on you financially, and you don't have your education, you haven't set up successful businesses, and so on, that when you get done with football, you're sitting around, as he was, playing his ukulele at his beach house in Oceanside and surfing, and as businesses were failing, and as kids needed dad to be there, and as family members needed money, Junior was not able to provide that any longer, or at least not at the same pace that he was, and you can imagine the emotional weight that you have to carry around. Listen, we got 30 seconds to go. Comment on that, and then we'll keep you around, because I would like for you to talk more about this.
The reason we crash and burn at an alarming rate is because, I think largely in part, because we're insecure for the first time in our lives. We don't know what to do. We're operating in an arena that is new and foreign to us. We're so supported, we're so scaffolded, we have so many things that help us while we're in the NFL, but that doesn't exist. So it's not that we can't do it, we just don't know how to do it.
Right, there is no roadmap.